Welcome to Vintage SF. I'm Richard Rempel, and today we're going to take a look at some of my acquisitions from the month of July 2025. First, though, something that I would like to incorporate if I have this happen within a month is mail from the month. So I've had 2 postcards this last month. Here's one with a Frank Herbert cover from a penguin. This one is from Bruce in Toronto, who likes to encourage some of the booktubers by sending them postcards. Hi, Richard. I noticed that you're joining in on the Rocket Summer SF fun. I decided to start early with a 1950s PKD book, Eye in the Sky. I'm about halfway into it and enjoying it. Hope you're well. Cheers, Bruce. Thank you, Bruce. And I had another postcard. This one, an image, at least from the book that I have, of the best of H.G. Wells. This one comes from Brian, and he's also from Ontario. Richard, science fiction is not predictive. It is descriptive. That's an Ursula K. Le Guin quote. Keep up the great work on Vintage SF. And he attached a QR code so I could look up more about this artwork here. It was by Frank R. Paul, cover of Dynamic Science Stories from February of 1939. Thank you for the mail. I really enjoy getting those postcards. So now let's get into some of the books. I've mentioned this earlier this month. Michael K. Vaughan, the creator of Rocket Summer, had a video at the beginning of Rocket Summer that was talking about EC comics. These used to be educational comics, but now they were entertaining comics. There's a change of generations in producing these comics. So in the late 40s to early 50s, we had entertaining comics. And in these comics here, there are some very famous horror ones like Tales from the Crypt. But there were also weird science comics. It's also interesting that they put fantasy down the side. These are omnibus editions, and on the back, they show the covers for the comics that are within. So I picked up the ones that were on sale. So I have a variety here. Another weird science one. And there's the cover of the issues that are found within. You'll notice that after Weird Science, it did change to Weird Science Fantasy for those 2 issues. Weird Science and Weird Fantasy would run every other month. And there was 22 issues of each before they combined for Weird Science Fantasy. We can see the issues on the back there as well for this one. And this is the last one. Now, there's one video this last month where I did show you one of the short stories within an issue, just to give you a flavor of the type of stories they were. These were pulp science fiction stories. Don't let the fantasy part confuse you. These were all really science fiction stories, and they really were part of that pulp era with Ace Science Fiction doubles and other books from the early 1950s. Highly influential for a lot of the authors of that decade and on. The writers and editors were Bill Gaines and Al Feldstein for most of these, and Al Feldstein was also an artist. There's a very cool story about Ray Bradbury and EC Comics with weird fantasy and weird science fiction. I'm going to tell that story in my next video. Stay tuned for it. Here's the thumbnail I'm planning to use. All right, so those were my purchases in EC Comics. By the way, I should mention that the art is just beautifully rendered here with excellent colors. Every title has its own cover image as well. Just a wonderful job. I believe this is from Dark Horse Comics. Yes. So look for those. An author whose work I've been slowly gathering as I find it in used bookstores, a prolific author of our 21st century, is Alistair Reynolds. And so I picked up a couple copies of his work. Galactic North. I believe these are short stories. Yes, and here's the contents in case you're interested. And a second Alistair Reynolds. This one's a bit bigger. Century Rain. So these were basically in as new condition. I have quite a pile now of Alistair Reynolds books. Actually, I can show you some of them right here. So I'll add to that pile a future project of mine to start reading those. I found a hardcover edition of Connie Willis's To Say Nothing of the Dog. The dust jacket is in great shape. This was printed in January of 1998. The book design was by James Sinclair. This is her first full-length novel since her critically acclaimed Doomsday book. Connie Willis is a winner of multiple Hugo and Nebula Awards, once again visits the unpredictable world of time travel. I think the vast majority of her work deals with time travel. She's an author that I read 25 years ago when some of these were brand new, but I haven't read for a long time. And I'm also very impressed that I think that she is one of the most celebrated award-winning authors in science fiction. So I really do need to get back into her work. I also found a Gull Lynx edition. These are called the Collector's Edition, and this is a Joe Haldeman novel, Worlds. If you've just found my channel recently, I do look at a lot of different editions of Gull Lynx, Masterworks, and publications in the 21st century, I guess that would be, since about 1999 to the present. So you can find lists and reviews on this channel. At the end of the 21st century, many people think that the only real hope for the human race lies in the worlds, the 41 orbiting satellites that are home to 500,000 people. The advent of cheap fusion has undermined the worlds as a source of solar energy, but there is still tourism and raw materials. New York, the largest of the worlds, for instance, is a hollowed-out nickel-iron asteroid, which means it is almost pure steel. New York is also home to Marianne O'Hara, a brilliant political sciences student who has been chosen to spend a postgraduate year on Earth. But the political relationship between the worlds and Earth is complex and volatile. Marianne unwittingly finds herself caught up with a group of fanatics looking to start another revolution in America, even if it means the destruction of Earth itself. Worlds is a fine and thoughtful novel from one of science fiction's most consistently entertaining writers. This last month I read Non-Stop by Brian Aldiss, and so I was very excited to see Best SF Stories of Brian W. Aldiss. This is a former library book. I'm going to see if I can clean this up and perhaps even take this Brodart cover off and replace it, but it's in very good condition. Why am I talking about the condition of this book? Because first published MCM LXV, so that would be 1965, by Faber and Faber in Great Britain. This, of course, as the title would indicate, is a collection of his short stories. I recently did a review for this book on my channel. I thought it was a really good transition between Rocket Summer and what I'm calling nonfiction SF for August. Not all the videos for August will be nonfiction, but I'm trying to read a number of biographies and reference materials for science fiction. It was Arthur C. Clarke, The Lost Worlds of 2001. This was the ultimate book of the ultimate trip in 2001: A Space Odyssey. In here, you'll find his memories of creating 2001 with Stanley Kubrick, along with material that was discarded from the novel and from the movie. Materials which are very interesting on their own. So there's some large sections of fiction within here, deleted scenes, different routes that this movie could have gone to. It's very interesting. Next, my second Joe Haldeman of the month, All My Sins Remembered. There is no heaven in outer space for one noble and deadly spy. No creature in the galaxy is deadlier than man. Now, I believe this might be a first, at least paperback printing. Copyright 1977. This first Avon printing, November 1978. So I believe this might be the first paperback edition. Now for a couple old books. The Planet Strappers by Raymond Z. Galloon. Perhaps Raymond Z. Galloon. Says, out there, the world's first space colony, adventures and dangers beyond human ken. You know this is an old book because the price is 35 cents. It's a pyramid book. Let me take a look. First published by Pyramid Books in October of 1961. And last, this is the first book that I've ever got from this author, from Margaret St. Clair. Sign of the Labries. Imaginative, inventive, original, the science fiction novel of an ultra-modern world without a future. This one is 40 cents, so we know that it's also probably from the 1960s. Women are writing science fiction. Original, brilliant, dazzling. This was news to people. Women are closer to the primitive than men. They are conscious of the moon poles, the earth tides. They possess a buried memory of humankind's obscure and ancient past, which can emerge to uniquely color and flavor a novel. Such a woman is Margaret St. Clair, author of this novel. Such a novel is this, Signs of the Labries, the story of a doomed world of the future, saved by recourse to ageless, immemorial rights. Fresh, imaginative, inventing. Well, that sounds a bit archaic to us nowadays in terms of the way they reference female writers in science fiction. Copyright 1963, published in August of 1963 as this Bantam book. So there is my acquisitions for the month of July 2025, Rocket Summer month. Do you have any thoughts about the books that I've picked up? How about Rocket Summer itself? Did you enjoy it? Let me know in the comments below. Until next time, keep reading.